24 days left, and this year is a wrap. So much to do in so little time. I tend to be a overthinker. I overanalyze everything I do. It's like a gift and a curse sometimes. So in these last 24 days of 2020, I got a certain amount of money I'd like to make. I got a couple of video ideas I want to put together. You get stretched so thin. So my goal for continuing to upload these videos, counting down the days, is to try to show exactly how much time we have. And not to say that we're, taking it for granted per se, but in a 24-hour day, there's a lot you can get done. There's usually something in the day, PlayStation 5 for me, that wastes a good amount of my time. This time is going to go quick too. I feel like in about a week, I'm going to be saying it's 2 days left in 2022. That's what it feels like. Like the breadth of this year, it didn't go fast. It's not slow. It just feels like it's progressing along. Like this has actually been a year. Like 2020 kind of blew by. Even with all the stuff that was going on, it kind of just snap and you miss it. But this year, it's kind of felt like a full year. Maybe it's because we got to go outside. I don't know. But the way they're making it seem as if we should have never got the privilege to go outside. But it just seems like this year has been an actual 12 months. Even though when I look back on it, January was so long ago, and what I'm doing now versus what I was doing last December and January is two worlds apart. But that's how fast things can change. And that's the whole point of this, is like that's literally how fast things can change in a 12-month period. You could be somewhere totally different from where you're at today. The question is, can you plan that? Can you plan that type of change? And I think the answer is yes. So when I sit and think about my moves, and I'm very analytical, I overanalyze. My brain sometimes doesn't want to stop. And that's kind of what I use the PlayStation 5 for, is it kind of lets me turn it off for a second. So when I'm doing things, no matter what I'm doing during the day, on the computer, I'm editing, I'm still, the back of my mind, I'm always thinking. So in those plans, I'm always trying to play chess. Speaking of chess, I play chess all the time. I love the game of chess because of how analytical it is. So that's another thing I do to kind of quiet my mind and get it to think about other things in the chess pieces of life. So I end up sitting around, like if I have a quiet second, my mind is constantly turning, trying to figure out the next chess move. If I make this move, what are the consequences? What are the repercussions? What are the benefits? Every move that I make, I try and analyze everything I do in that fashion. And the thing about it is you never can get it all. You never can think of every single outcome, good and bad, that you might face, because I try and plan for it all. I literally have backup plans for my backup plans for my backup plans. That's how deep my mind thinks. And at the same time, it's still not enough, which causes me to think more. It causes me never to turn the switch off. So in these last 24 days of 2021, like I said, it's gonna go quick. I know it is. I'm gonna look up, and next thing you know, I'm making the last video of this year, and then, on to another new chapter. I hope. I plan for anyway. That's one of the reasons why the preparation is just so important for the path that you want to take, the direction that you want to go. It is so critical. And I say that, but sometimes I guess it gets lost, video translation of how critical that is. I try to tell the people around me how critical it is for them to plan their steps. And I try to be an example of, hey, listen, if you plan this, things possibly, they might go the direction that you want them to go when you finally get to said step. And I can't cover all the bases. And risk is definitely, for instance, I know a lot of you are just now getting your trucks. getting your authorities, putting that money up, getting your insurance. That insurance is expensive and it's scary. And I know you sit and think, you know, what if this fails, or what if I don't get business? You see the horror stories, you see the YouTube channels of people making great money. Which side of the coin will you land on? Yeah, it can be very scary, but my mind always says, what if you make it? What if you become a success? What if you become one of those success stories? Then what? There's just so many possibilities. And mind you, this is not the only business you can get into. Transportation is fantastic, and it's always been fantastic, but there's other businesses out there with a little research that you can do as well. And eventually I want to get into some of those businesses because as strong as transportation is, a lot of people have found out over the summer that it's not for them. Listen, this takes serious grind. When you see some of these guys on YouTube, guys and gals on YouTube making this money, there's a part, an element that you don't really see, and it doesn't translate through video. And that part is that hustle, that drive that they have, that I'm gonna make this work regardless of what. Like Big Vic, for example. I speak to him personally, and the drive that he has behind the camera, it doesn't translate on camera. So you see him working, you see him driving, you see him getting loads, you see him posting, hey, I made this much this week. It doesn't translate what he's done behind the scenes, and that's the part that a lot of people miss. So they get into this business and they might see the front side of it, I can make X amount of money, but they don't see the back side of it, which is how many hours you spend on the phone talking to people and trying to find these loads and driving to said place and hitting the road and doing whatever you got to do to get that money. But the thing is, all of us have the ability to do what Big Vic does. It's just that everybody's not going to put in that amount of effort that Big Vic puts in. So then it translates different. So, and that's one of the things that mentally you all can prepare for. We all can prepare for that type of fight. You just got to be willing to put in that work. It's based on your habits. It's based on your drive. It's based on what you want to do and where you want to be, or where you see yourself in the coming years. And with that drive, you'll never be broke again if you do it right. That's why I'm kind of doing this video series right now, because it's a mental game. All of this, most businesses, when you read about why businesses fail, and I'm talking all spectrum of businesses, when you read about why businesses fail, it's usually not the product and it's usually not the customer. It's usually management. That's where you have to fashion your mind, especially with a positive mind state, because negative thoughts can drown you. I'm not a negative thinker. I consciously think of the negative side of the actions that I take, but what I don't do is dwell on them. Any thought process that I have towards my success is going to go towards the positive. Reason being is because the negative is going to be there. Life is, to me, 50-50. If I'm going to tip it in any direction with my thought process, I'm going to tip it towards the positive and not it could fail. I'd rather think it could succeed knowing that it could fail. I know that it can fail, but I'd rather think it can succeed. So that's where my mind state and the health of my mind state really comes into play. So basically what I'm trying to say is, over the course of this last 24 days, right, we have to get our minds right. Because crazy part is, even when it comes and that success comes, there's a whole nother set of problems. You know, let's say you start making money like one of these guys on YouTube. Now you're making more money than possibly you've ever made in your life. Now it's a whole nother set of problems that comes along with money. And you have to mentally prepare for that as well. Even though you're not there, you have to be prepared to be making, $6,000, $7,000 a week, 20,000 plus a month. What would you do with that? Do you just go blow it? Or do you save and stack and prepare for the next investment. These are things that um, can be looked at, can be figured out before you get there. And it's best to do it before you get there, because once you get there, you might not have time to breathe. And then you're kind of like in the thick of it. That's when management ends up not being as robust as it could, and then the business fails. The reality is, everyday trucks are taken off the road every single day from one reason or another. Maintenance issues, you didn't get the truck checked out. Crashes, if you're driving the truck or you are hiring people, you hired the guy that has a lead foot, you know. um, Money issues, you're out buying your wife Birkin bags instead of saving up for a rainy day, and when that rainy day comes, you got a bunch of purses to show for it. But as far as the way that I think, but as far as the direction I'm trying to get my mind to go in, and my habits to go in, 24 days isn't a lot of time to get there. But at the same time, it's more than enough time to start to head in that direction. And that direction to me equals success. I see success in that direction. We got 24 days in the next year at the very least. Let's make them count.